Let's see how to migrate a Moodle website from shared hosting to your own server. So it can be an actual physical server, or it can be a virtual private server. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that you have full control over this server, and you're going to have to do everything that has to do with the installation yourself. So no one-click installer or anything like that. We're just going to install Moodle on the server, and then we're going to export everything from the Moodle website that we already have in the shared hosting, and then we will import what we just exported from the shared hosting to our own server. So here on the left you can see my website, my Moodle website, and currently, as I said, I'm using shared hosting to host it. And here on the right I'm already connected to my server using SSH. So the first thing that we need to do is to install Moodle on the server. Now I already have another video dedicated to how to install Moodle on Ubuntu. So in this video I'm not going to go into too many details. If you want to see the full detailed version, watch that video, and I leave a link in the video description below. But in this video I'm just going to run through the process of installing Moodle. So let's start with updating the server. And now I'll install all of the prerequisites that are required. And I do want you to notice one thing that's different than what I had in the Moodle installation video. And the difference is that here I'm going to use MariaDB instead of MySQL. Now, MariaDB and MySQL are very similar. Most of the differences are behind the scenes and have very little effect on us as users of the databases. And the reason that I chose to use MariaDB over MySQL is because the shared hosting service that I use here to host the website that I have right now uses MariaDB itself. So to reduce the friction a bit and keep using the same database that I already use here, I decided to use MariaDB, but I believe that I could switch to MySQL and I would see no difference. So it shouldn't matter that much, but I'll go with MariaDB anyway. Let's now download Moodle. And I'll extract the archive and move it to the correct folder. And now that we moved everything, we can access the installation via the web browser. I'll create the Moodle data folder. And let's now create our database and a user to access this database. I'll call my database moodledb. And let's now create the database user. And I'll use my own name. So this is done, and we now have a database and a user to use it. So let's get back to the installation. And of course I'm going to choose MariaDB. And we now need to create the config.php file. And everything seems to be fine, so let's continue. And the Moodle installation is done. What we're doing now is creating the admin user. Now, this user is very important because this is the user that we're going to use to manage everything in our Moodle website. The thing is that the user that we are about to create is temporary. Once we import our website from the website we currently have, this admin user will be overwritten. So it doesn't really matter what I choose here, it's going to be replaced in a minute. So I will go through the creation of this user, but keep in mind that the name that you choose here and the password that you type in won't really matter, because as soon as we will import the website that we currently have, they are going to be lost anyway. So let's just type in something temporary. And Moodle is running from our server. Now, as you can see, right now the website is called temporary name. This is probably not the best name ever, but once again, it's only temporary. It's going to be replaced in a minute. So now that we have Moodle running on the server, we're going to export the website that we currently have, and then we'll be able to use the exported files to import them to this website. Now, currently I'm using Hostinger to host my website, so let's open the Hostinger management panel. And we're going to need to export the Moodle data folder and the database. Let's start with the Moodle data folder. So from here, I'll choose Files and File Manager. And let's access the files of my website. And here I have my Moodle data folder. So let's download this folder. And as you can see, it can be compressed to many types of archives. I'll go with tar.gz. Okay, so the Moodle data folder was downloaded. Let's move on to exporting the database. So let's get back to the management console. And now I'll choose the databases option. And we're going to use phpMyAdmin to export the database. So let's enter phpMyAdmin. And from the options here, I'm going to choose Export. And for the format, I'm going to use SQL. I now move the two files that I downloaded to a new folder to which I call Moodle Backup. And now that we have these two files, we need to import them to our server. Let's start with the Moodle data folder, which is currently in the archive, tar.gz archive. So to upload this archive to my server, I'm going to use WinSCP. This is a convenient tool to upload files from Windows to Linux machines. So I need to type in the IP address of my server and then log in. And on the Windows machine, let's open the Moodle backup folder. And I'm simply going to upload this file, moodledata.tar.gz, to my server. Let's now get back to our server. And here, if we go one level up, we can see the Moodle data folder that we currently have. I'm going to completely delete this folder because the folder that I want to use is the one that I just copied to my server. So this folder, the one we have right now, needs to be replaced. So let's start by deleting it completely. And now I'll copy to this folder the archive of the Moodle data folder that we just uploaded to the server. So here is the archive, and we're going to extract its contents to a new Moodle data folder. And now we have a new Moodle data folder, and if we look at what we have inside it, we can see that we have here the content that we extracted from the archive. The thing is that if we look at the owner of the files in this folder, we can see some number, but it's not the user of the web server. So let's change the owner of all of the files in this folder. And if we look at the owner now, we can see that it is the correct owner as it should be. We need to do the same thing for the Moodle data folder itself. So right now the owner of this folder is root, so let's change it. And now we can see that this folder has the correct owner. Next, we need to import the database. To do that, we're going to start by installing phpMyAdmin on the server. So I'm going to choose Apache 2, so spacebar and enter. And I don't want to configure anything, so no. So this is done. And if we now open the IP address of the server and access the phpMyAdmin folder, we can see that we can access phpMyAdmin on the server. Now, in case you forgot the username or the password that you used during Moodle installation, we can always find them in the config.php file. So this is the username, and this is the password. Now, as you probably remember, when we used phpMyAdmin on the old website, we chose the export option. Here, we're going to choose the import option. And here we have an important thing to notice too. If you take a close look here, you can see that the maximum file size is about 2 megabytes. But let's see what is the size of the SQL file that we want to import. So choose File, and if I'll open my Moodle backup folder, we can see that the SQL file weighs about 22 megabytes. So the limitation that we currently have will prevent us from uploading this file. So we need to change it. To do that, we need to get back to the PHP settings on the server. And we're going to find these settings in this file, php.ini. And I'm going to use the Ctrl-W shortcut to search in this file. And I look for upload max. So as you can see, right now the upload max file size is about 2 megabytes. And as we just saw, this is not enough. So we need to change it. It needs to be more than the size of the file that we want to upload. To be on the safe side, I'll set it to 60 megabyte. We also need to change another configuration, so Ctrl-W again. And now I'm going to look for post max. So as you can see, post max size is 8 megabytes, and once again, it's not enough. So I'll change it to 60 megabytes as well. So let's save the file and exit. And let's restart the Apache service. And if we refresh the phpMyAdmin page, we can see that now instead of 2 megabytes, we have here 60 megabytes. So this should be enough. So what I want to do now is to completely remove the database that I currently have, the MoodleDB database, and after we'll delete it, we'll recreate it, but it will be empty. And once we'll have the empty MoodleDB, it will be much easier to import the SQL file. So let's start by completely dropping this database, and I'll do it as root. So let's drop this database. And it was dropped, so if I refresh the page here, I can see that I don't have it anymore. So let's recreate this database, but this time it's going to be empty. So let's refresh again, and we can see that now we do have this database, but it's completely empty. So let's click on import again, and let's choose our SQL file. And we simply need to click on Go, and the database is being imported. So it took a while, but the database was eventually imported. And now that we have the same database as we had in the original website, and we also have the same Moodle data folder, we should be able to go to the website that's on our server. And if we refresh the page, we can see that we successfully migrated our website, and it now has the very same content as the website we started from.